ABBA is firmly in our minds thanks to the new Mamma Mia! Here We Go Again film, and news of Cher's upcoming ABBA covers album. They're also firmly in our minds because in the midst of this explosion of interest for Latin beats and Spanish language music, it's important to honor ABBA as one of the original Latin music believers. Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. Keep watching this video to find out whether ABBA speaks Spanish. ABBA and the Latin explosion. When the details of ABBA's incredible success story are discussed, we mostly think of Great Britain, Australia, and the northern parts of continental Europe. It's easy to overlook, for instance, ABBA's long and fruitful relationship to Spain and Latin America, which stretches back to the group's very earliest days. With the exception of English, ABBA recorded more songs in Spanish than any other language, including their native Swedish. Nearly 2 decades before the 1990s Latin explosion, or even the rise of Gloria Estefan and Miami Sound Machine, ABBA realized the potential of the Latin music market in 1980, releasing an all-Spanish album, Gracias por la Música, Thank You for the Music. The album wasn't a whim. ABBA had tested Latin waters earlier with a Spanish-language version of Chiquitita that was a huge hit throughout Latin America, and later a Spanish version of I Have a Dream titled Estoy Soñando. For Gracias, the group included songs that already came with Latin flair, namely Hasta Mañana and Fernando, as well as hits like Mamma Mia, and Conociéndote, Conociéndome, Knowing Me, Knowing You. The group enlisted the help of Spanish journalists to coach in pronunciation, and there are multiple videos that show Bjorn Ulvaeus being interviewed in excellent Spanish and defending his project for Spanish-speaking fans. One key aspect of ABBA's music that fans notice quite a lot is the lyrical depth in their songs. The lyrics of ABBA frequently have a real sense of personal authenticity, and they have been praised for their ability to touch people's hearts. Whether the songs are catchy or touching, ABBA will always leave a lasting impression on their fans. For all we know, they could be singing in an Amazonian language, but their music always conveys the feeling behind their lyrics. ABBA always respected Spanish. In other words, ABBA did that reverse crossover all the way, from inception to execution to promotion, respecting the language and attempting to understand the culture, as opposed to simply capitalizing on a current trend. On subsequent albums, ABBA included 1 or 2 songs in Spanish versions, for their Latin fans, with the same formula that would be applied years later by the likes of Ricky Martin and Shakira when they recorded English albums. In 1993, the group's Spanish-language songs were released under the compilation Oro, which reached number 37 on the top Latin album charts, dated December 25, 1993, and number 15 on Latin pop albums, also chart dated December 25, 1993. And of course, there's the Spanish-language version of the musical. As for those who grew up in Latin America listening to ABBA in Spanish, many of us thought, given their titles, that Chiquitita and Fernando had been written in Spanish for us. ABBA Oro. ABBA and their associates had certainly taken note of how helpful their Spanish-language recordings had been in their efforts to establish themselves in South America. Therefore, in that market, their final 2 studio albums were both released with 2 tracks in Spanish, leaving the corresponding English versions off each album. On Super Trooper, the songs were Andante Andante and Happy New Year, the latter track translated as Felicidad. And on The Visitors, the selected tracks were When All Is Said and Done, No Hay A Quien Culpar, and Slipping Through My Fingers, Se Me Está Escapando. As a group, ABBA never performed any songs, especially for Spanish television again, choosing instead to film special promo clips for Felicidad and No Hay A Quien Culpar. But at the end of 1981, they were interviewed in Stockholm for the Argentine television program Mónica y Andrés, La Carta Indiscreta. ABBA's final Spanish-related interview happened in February 1982 and was made for the program Aplauso. Later in 1982, ABBA made their very last recordings together and then went their separate ways. As their profile was lowered all over the world, their visibility in Spain and South America was decreased along with it. But in the early 1990s, as the ABBA revival kicked into gear, the group's Spanish recordings were rediscovered and released on the compilation album ABBA Oro, Grandes Éxitos, originally containing only the 10 songs from the Gracias por la Música album. The remaining 5 recordings known to exist, Ring Ring, plus 2 songs from Super Trooper and the 2 tracks from The Visitors, were first released on CD, and the follow-up compilation Más Oro. Today, however, all 15 tracks are available on the expanded edition of ABBA Oro, issued in 1999. And in 2004, Spanish visibility for ABBA and their music became higher than ever, with the compilation album Todo ABBA, See the news section, October 2004, for the details on this release. And the premiere of the Spanish version of Mamma Mia, Gracias ABBA por la música. Truth be told, the very earliest Spanish-language connections for the group have a mysterious undertone to them. In 1973, the group recorded the song Ring Ring in Swedish and English. Both versions were highly successful in Sweden. It's also true that Agnetha and Frida did not speak Spanish at all. People usually had sent the lyrics to them earlier, and they had worked on the pronunciation with a journalist named Ana Martínez de Valle. With that, we come to the end of this video. Ultimately, ABBA was duly motivated by a large market for their music and their tremendous success with Spanish-language songs. The music saw a resurgence of sorts in the early 1990s as a new generation discovered their music, and the music lives on.